Welcome back, everyone, and hello to our audience on Zoom. Before I introduce our feature poets, please remember that we're calling for poems written in response to the poetry of the season's featured poets. Caitlin Press will be publishing After, Poems in Dialogue, a Canadian anthology of response poetry, edited by Kieran Regier and Zoe Dickinson. Yeah. You can learn more or submit via our website. If you're not yet a newsletter subscriber, please go to planetearthpoetry.com and sign up so you can stay in the loop. One of our featured poets tonight, Junie Désil, is offering our community writing practice this Sunday from 11 a.m. till noon. Participation in this event is free of charge and available through Zoom. I presume if you want to do it, you need to be on the newsletter. Kieran?
You could actually just use the sign up on the website, the same sign up that you would to get onto this Zoom. It's the same Zoom room.
Okay, if you want to participate in the community writing practice event this Sunday, 11 a.m. till noon, go to the Planet Earth Poetry website. Okay. Junie Désil is a poet born to Haitian immigrant parents. Her debut poetry collection, Eat Salt, Gaze of the Ocean, was a finalist for the Dorothy Livesay Poetry Prize. She currently lives on the territories of the Homalco, Tla'amin, and Klahoose. Her second collection out right now is Allostatic Load. Allostatic Load is an evocative poetry collection chronicling the lived experiences of a Black woman amidst a tumultuous year marked by global racial tensions. Interweaving personal narratives with collective struggles, the poems delve into themes of identity, ancestral trauma, and the relentless pursuit of social justice. Through poignant exploration, Désil unveils the interplay of chronic wear and tear, allostatic load, and the burden of systemic injustice and neglect, inviting readers to witness the vulnerability and resilience required to navigate the complexities of healing. Please welcome Junie.
Wonderful. Can everyone hear me? Great. I will read one family-themed poem, and then I'll read from this, and you are the first group of folks to see me crack open this brand new But first, this piece called If It's Time That You Want. Okay. Sometimes reading from phones is a little challenging. Okay. In the absence of your presence, sorry, let's try that again. Okay. In the absence of your presence and memories, positive, those Thursday nights watching The Cosby Show on our 13-inch black and white TV. Dr. Huxtable is not my idol. Bill Cosby is not Dr. Huxtable. Bill Cosby is not my idol. You remember so little, Father. The hardships as an immigrant man studying medicine, the pile of books on the dining table, your neck bent as you took copious notes and popped Rolaids like lifesavers, your white lab coat to keep you warm in the chilly government apartment while prairie snow piled thick and high. Do you remember your Castro-length lectures, rants when we played too noisily, scraped our plates, clanged cutlery against the edges, grated as you failed repeatedly at being a doctor? Thursdays, a break from the texts as you would watch Doctor and Lawyer Huxtable and their 5 kids. Did you not wonder how 2 Black career-busy parents managed to raise well-adjusted, respectable kids? Those nights where we released our anxieties and you relaxed, laughed, big and full, cheeks chipmunk round, filled with stew and dumpling. Other nights, too, were good if the Cosby Show mood carried over and you'd repeat a joke to death and we'd roll our eyes hard. Meanwhile, at the real estate job that paid the bills and your incomplete degree, your boss, Larry, would print and post racist jokes. You'd bring the printout beige paper, green lined, perforated edges, infinity ream. And you burped putrid ulcers, clutched your sunken abdomen with one hand, the other crumpled jokes. You don't remember this. Instead, you say, my marriage was crumbling through my hands. You don't remember much of those years before you absented yourself, so you try to excavate self, sift through Bill Cosby episodes, the one about Theo wanting an allowance, the one about Theo moving out, the numerous ones about Vanessa that reminded you of me, precocious or fréquent or fresh. Did you hear about what he did to numerous women? I interrupt. You grow silent, look as sad as the many times I twist the knife in your heart, the one with the sharp tip that carves out all your mistakes, the serrated edges that saws through 25 years. Why do you remember Cosby episodes, but not what you did? My father sounds remarkably like Cosby when he does remembered impressions, and he answers after yet another call where I stay mute in the face of his immovable admiration. It keeps you talking on the phone longer. A few years, sorry, I did not expect that. We're good, actually, my dad and I. A few years ago, my husband downloaded every single Cosby episode. He, a refugee, me, a first gen. We've bonded 11 years over our similar childhood. Winter white prairies, lying in fields, our backs, pin-cushioned by wheat stalks, summer evenings catching fireflies in jars, makeshift bedside lamp. Our immigrant father's love of Cosby, we laugh at the heartbreaking discipline they meted out, peppered with Cosby sayings. We can't watch these anymore, my husband says wisely, regretfully. Deletes hours of torrents searched painstakingly. My father and I were arguing again. It started with a dismembered memory I tried to reassemble and ends with a flippant reference to Cosby. His eyes glitter and his mouth twitches. In the silence, he's about to dig and fill. My husband says, let me talk to Dad. I love that my father is his father. I do not have that grace. His loud voice and boisterous nature fill the tiny living room, settles in the various corners. I tune out what starts as a story. There will be many on his call, and not for the first time, I ruefully note, I married my father. Dad, if it's time that you want, I hear my husband say, and he walks out, unlit Pall Mall clamped in his lips, my phone tiny in his large hands, the rest of the words swallowed in his noisy exit. He's going to sit at the spot, the courtyard, flanked by a sensible condo on the right and a heritage church on the other. The smoke will curl and graze the navy blue sky, screen the glittering stars, his long legs stretched pointed towards the river. Dad, if it's time that you want, he'll tell you how to buy it. Thank you. All right, now I'm gonna crack this open. This is literally the first time I open it, so. Okay, I think I still have time, right? I didn't finish
Yes, come on.
This piece is called care washing. I made up the word, but think of like greenwashing and pink washing, and that's what I mean. 1, church. I remember the quarterly humility service we participated in. You were supposed to wash the feet of your fellow congregant, white enameled, blue-rimmed tub filled with lukewarm water, and special crisp white linens draped on shoulders. My mother never picked friends, or maybe they didn't pick her, but she always watched the feet of one of the two older white women no one talked to. She never wrinkled her nose at their bunion feet in cheap beige-colored pantyhose. Perfunctorily, perhaps, she would always humility pat their feet. 2. Secularly, we try to love each other, conditionally or for a paycheck, make something inherently relational into something to be consumed, like a hamburger. An observation that as we are paid to care, we care less for the folks dispensing care, less for the folks in need, and we're all awful people surviving capitalism, even without threat of hell and damnation or implorations to love your neighbor as yourself. 3. I can't remember who washed my feet when I was old enough to partake. Likely it was a friend, and I don't remember whose feet I washed. That time is a blur of damnation trauma. I remember that it was Easter weekend, and it was sunny and beautiful for Winnipeg. Spring came in like a lamb. And that service was longer, and the smell of food warming, tickling our stomachs, a potluck that we couldn't stay for, the upswell of the organ and piano, and voices lifted as we cannibalized the body of Christ, the wafer styrofoam textured, washed down with Manischewitz wine. But I did not know how to care unconditionally, how to have humility. 4. In the morning, when I have difficulty caring for myself, before I wrestle my careworn heart to submission, so I can grieve, be anxious, be solicitous, note the irony of being in service to the state's offloading and feminization of labor. I remember my mother who quietly and simply kneeled, soft hair, black and shiny in a chignon she pinned low to her neck, back bent, Vaseline gloss lips pressed firmly, among the row of bent-over women, scooping water over nyland feet in service to the seated women in front of her. Now I don't know what to read. I'll read from the section called medicine so that we're not all in trauma about not feeling well. But I did want to say that this collection, I did a lot of reading of, I don't know if you've read Inflamed, Deep Medicine and the Anatomy of Injustice. And so I did a epigraph. Reparative care requires a transformation in the way we hold, exchange, and interact with one another and the web of life. So this section is inspired, I don't know if some of you know, but I live on Liskiti Island, a remote off-grid community, which is absolutely lovely and a lot. We went without fuel for a year. Not a year. Sorry, I'm not making stories up. A month. Sometimes our power goes out. First year, I didn't chop enough wood. I don't actually chop wood. I need a tutorial. But I did note that living there and slowing down has helped in finding that balance of care and restoration. Today, I walk through our neighbor's orchard. He points out a variegated ornamental grass, a fruiting woody peony. The pods hold seeds, lima bean green and large that will turn black, he says. Hands me a peach with a little conspiratorial smile, then a large fig, soft, and my fingers imagine pulpy, melty insides. A mulberry slyly handed as I reach for a sweet green plum, bursting sweetness. Points out a Spartan apple tree and a hazelnut tree raccoons have feasted on, a fig tree nibbled by deer, he says laughingly. I muse on how obsessively I used to wash store-bought fruit, soaking them in concoctions of ACV or ocean salty water, now sweet nectar from unwashed fruit, undulating down my throat. It rains. We've longed desperately for it. My bones neither portend nor divine its arrival, They've muted their protest to a dull and rare flare-up, so I'm pleasantly surprised at the wet whisper and murmur of water on parched soil. Petrichor and a summer of hellfire commingle in the cold night. Crickets are not as loud as on dry, hot nights, I'm so sorry. Pleasantly surprised that I am not saw-blocking to a hellscape or an appointment or through life, pelvis tightened against threats, real, imagined, a shield, a barrier that has failed at a job it was not meant to do. So it rains, the smell of parched life, thirst slaked, and a hope of dampening these hot spring seasons, fall, and the inevitable Narnian winters. Our breathless oceans signal alarming climate change that anxiety pales in comparison to the day-to-day weather patterns. My body is a war zone, strategizing and plotting where to lob its stabbing weapons. Tell myself to touch grass as a reminder to ground myself, check in with the natural world. I touch grass often now, rose in wild profusion, smell, rain, and look at jeweled spider webs glinting luxuriously in the sun, water pearls, diamond bright. How am I for time? I'm good, okay. In the morning, I listen to the loudness of life, the now familiar sound of the little red hummingbird you can hear nearly a mile away, long before it zips by eye level, wings motor-like sounds, mooing drifts from the valley. Sometimes guests come over used to shrill sounds that emanate from their screens, rapid-fire snippets, beat clips voice over unnatural speed robot tones, manufacture earworms, multiply, mar, natural cacophony, slow, rapid thousands of sound, their layered array, dizzy-making. I'm going to read 2 small sections and then this piece I read at the inaugural Phyllis Webb reading celebrating Cecily Nicholson, whose work I love. And that was based on harrowing, which you should read. I come from a family of farmers. On both sides of my family's tree, my parents and grandparents grew maize, coffee, peanuts, and other provisions. They sold these in the market for income, but also grew them for their day-to-day subsistence. My maternal grandfather ran a store where he sold what they grew, roasted the corn, peanuts, and coffee, and sold them ground by weight. Both sets of grandparents had goats and chickens and raised pigs. They worked their not quite ancestral lands, a stopover, if you will, from the Atlantic slave trade. Under American occupation, through presidential assassinations, over 70 heads of state since 1791, most of whom didn't serve full term. Imperialist interventions, gunboat diplomacy, etc., and fled as a result. First to Jojake, the place where the nations and the rivers come together and divide, colonially known as the island of Montreal, then to Treaty 1 territory, Winnipeg. I've come strangely full circle after being a city gal, prairie gal, and now West Coast island gal. The irony of feeling a sense of home here, despite my previous assertions. It's not the same ocean, I know, but ocean is ocean and it's salty. I'm in a complicated relationship with this land, borrowed far from another. I hold anxiety cradled like a child or a favorite plushie. I read harrowings while overturning soil on abandoned beds, violently hacking the blackberries back, burning piles of thorny, snake-thick vines. The blackberry bushes have invaded and colonized the beds and the surrounding soil, choking the male kiwi tree, also overgrown. Its branches braiding beautifully as it drapes, slash through the uneasiness on this soil that I tell people is home, here. The 3 goats I've inherited browse nearby on the blackberry bushes that we haven't gotten to. Later, they will sit contentedly, stare, regurgitate their earlier meal. I don't know that much about farming despite my lineage, but we've been cultivating, growing, and canning for the past 4 years. The ongoing pandemic, a catalyst that moved us from casual cultivating to subsistence farming. We canned last summer's bounty, which got us through our first hard winter. There are no canning recipes for the food we enjoy, the ones we trial and error. Haitian sauce pois, Punjabi saag, Iranian hoeshte badamjan. Where have I been a settler is where I am restored, returning to efforts of cultivation. And the last part. My dark brown fingers dig in soil. I watch all manner of bugs scuttle, even a little 2-headed lizard. Guilt's sharp sting at my having disrupted their home. My nails, expensive city nails, not right now, a holdover from a summer wedding, are impractical for the task of growing and living off the land. It is where I am restored. Shift soil, pull up weeds, drag wood for piling, drying, preparation for winter.
Thank you, Junie. Sorry, I'm making that hopefully comically long, fussing with the mic. Melanie Siebert. Melanie Siebert is the author of 2 poetry collections, Signal Infinities and Deepwater V, the latter of which was a finalist for the Governor General's Literary Award. Her nonfiction book, Heads Up, Changing Minds on Mental Health, won the Lane Anderson Award for Best Science Writing for Young Readers in Canada. Siebert's most recent poetry collection, Signal Infinities, explores the intelligences and limits of the body as a therapist takes up an apprenticeship to a lake, as pain arrives, as glaciers and ancient forests disappear. With unbridled oxygen affinity, this work attunes to submerged sensations, reflexes, chemical shifts. River Halen says, Signal Infinities is a stunning, intricately intelligent book that is beautiful, surprising, provocative. Matt Rader says, Melanie Siebert returns mind to the world and the world to the body. Please welcome Melanie Siebert.
Thank you, Garth. And thank you all for being here. So nice to see all your faces. And Junie, wow. Kieran, the way you curate this reading series is just amazing. I love that you brought my work and Junie's work into conversation. We have so many of the same concerns, the sob walking, touching grass and soil, and figuring out how to do work that matters. This book comes out of my practice as a therapist, and in a way it's about just trying to figure out how to sit with pain. At the time I was writing it, I was working on a team that worked with suicidal youth. And so I'm just going to start there in the therapy room. Each session begins with a steady voice, with cinematic rules, with tail feather light. Sit wherever you like. 2 bodies, uneasy in their signals, with thrifted and fast fashions, covering, cutting in, draping oddly, gaping maybe, rearranging again and again. Each wearing our shades of earth, our gendered angles in metal, wearing our check boxes for normal, safe, average, good enough, plus some version of crooked teeth, perpetual spin-offs, in-jokes, crashing surf, fallen leaves and things crushed on our treads. With the ability to wait and the hyper-hearing of an animal in hiding, wearing our DNA glitter, it's private and glinting beyond. I say the wrong things over and over. My voice mimics a fish caught in freeze-up, thrust months later into air by ice. Your move, your mind, a changeable instant. Mine 10 seconds at least behind. Pain that was not knowable as pain arrives. Our auric circles expand the air. Simultaneous life plans and death plans held in a stunning tension. Flexing with physical ordeals recounted and recoded as best we can. Even geologies of agony later. The body doing its shadowy replay. I guess death is a snowfill still riding in the clouds. The paperwork is shoddy. No fly, heavy weather, tilting a desk. The mouth, I don't know how or if it attached to the breast. The criteria are met or not. One wore too many coats. One did not want to die badly enough. One didn't know how to pick up the phone. One didn't know how to put words to it. One couldn't take the walls. Suspensions, loopholing, what can be said? Parliament has declared another crisis. Apps are deployed as if they were bees lifting a flower's DNA. The coroner's report wins the prize for most gutting poem. But who makes it to the end? Reports flop like salmon stranded in a field. I'm trying to weave in the atmospheric rivers, but that's too much. Sleeplessly, sound is bending through my elemental balconies. My night soundtrack, seemingly ripped off, has the feel of someone else's, impatient, looping, wavering, traffic-edged, wanting the phosphorescing dive in. You're a fine needle registering to the best of your ability, the pulses, the calvings, the unlivable power dynamic pressing the throat. Unforgivably, I'm asking you to live it a little longer, even when we have no balm or credible fix. There's a section in the middle that has case notes. And I kind of imagine them written by the lake. So they're like the case notes that I could never write. And I'm not going to read those. The case notes are on one side of the page, and then on the other side is just little bits of like the natural world going on and holding all of us, all of this pain. And so I'm just going to read those bits. And then in the last poem that I'm going to read, there's a spot where there's some names that are redacted. And I'm just going to like, I don't know, indicate that there's a name there that I'm not saying somehow. What's that?
Can you indicate verbally?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so this is trying to read Lake's case notes. As the little brown bats, light-shunning vespers, dip their heartbeats to rarity, hibernate mostly alone now. As deer saliva talks to the cut leaf edge. As steadfastly the dusty roadside ferns cool the hidden soil and intercept rain the road rejects. As a superbly camouflaged dusky whoosh tips into its call, into any listener's body. As sailing some jellyfish, kiting some spiders, rolling some beetles, blown some wind things, gliding, some at a reduced rate of falling. As pollen beds down in ice cores and seafloor sediment and will not be crushed, will not dissolve. Lake presents a felt condition. The drama of invertebrates and boggling human behavior, invariably married in a thriller, clever and disturbing. Lake holds space with the shoulders of a famous conductor, getting lost while stalking a moose, rationing cigarettes, advocating a messy process. A horizonless hour can be anchored by back-channeled willows, finely toothed aspirin leaves and bark. Real remorse is a real achievement. Self-compassion is a microleaf orienting cell by cell to the sun. I learn the same things over and over. The body has an ability to be reorganized crucially by contact. Sometimes awareness, like a seal, comes searching, pushing upriver from the sea, motion blur and muscular pulses. Suddenly mid-lake, a flash, radiating from that head, low, swiveling. No matter the dynamic range, there's a horizon we can't see beyond. One bee visits my chest on repeat, freestyling through my ultraviolet at deft angles. I feel anointed and worried my jacket is its flower. Obliged, it seems, to repeat trauma as current experience. Bathing every morning in pain's pulse, its twinge of arrogance. It's nothing but this. Another weapons builder labors at a lathe. Another worker dies overheated in a sugar hold. I want my oath of employment to acknowledge the exposed lake beds, the unprecedented flooding, our nervous systems. Pain cuts me into its signature move. The cry I never forget, reproduced in a ditch, identifiably animal. I can't word this, then do so poorly. Once I registered, redacted, undreaming the blows. I watched, redacted, recalibrate their night vision goggles, redacted, spied their own lakehood in the post 400 parts per million era. Even water and air metabolize violence to a degree. Now a hunch materializes. Redacted walks the sea's scrappy silks in precious shoes, feet numb, the cold's ornamental daggers, hopefully otherworldly enough to get through this night. Do something, do something, do something, do something.